Monday, everybody. Welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. I am joined by my friend Scott Fontana, as always. You can follow him at Scott_Fontana. You can follow the podcast at Couchside Judges. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen. And as always, we talk judging in MMA, so make sure you brushed up on the criteria. Scott has a voice problem, which is an issue for an audio podcast, but I think he'll be able to power through mostly.
I'm sure there's some people who would say I had a voice problem before, but this is like a different one. This is one that's not normal. So you guys can hear me, and I don't sound normal, but this is about as best as I've sounded since we're recording on Sunday night, Wednesday.
Yeah, it sounds like you're not as bad as Froggy from Little Rascals, but I could see you're cutting in and out a little bit, and it's not your headphones, folks.
No. No. Your equipment is working correctly. Mine is not.
Anyway, Scott, we had a big weekend of MMA. We had Bellator 300, UFC 80, Bobby
UFC
Green.
Vegas 80.
UFC, I'm sorry, I apologize. UFC Vegas 80, the 80th event in the Apex, the warehouse.
That was not considered to be a pay-per-view numbered event.
So
it still gets complicated from there.
Oh, it's wild. But Bellator 300 is their 300th event. I don't think... Does the Bellator Risings complicate things?
Kinda.
Okay. Yeah,
it's a little weird. Yeah. They've also got some strange, like, Monster Energy drink or something like that events they did that I don't even think they actually aired on TV. That they're kind of Bellator events, but it's complicated. It's their 300th numbered event. Just take it.
Okay. That's what it is. Their 300th. And they did advertise 301, so will still be Bellator.
Ostensibly.
Anyway, Bobby Green looked fantastic for about the 30 seconds we saw him, knocking out Grant Dawson.
Over in the Apex.
Yeah, do you think there's anything... What's next for him? He said he's tired of calling out names. He just wants to fight on certain dates. He doesn't even care who it's against.
Well, Dana's saying they're going to see about maybe getting him another fight this year, which sounds fine. I mean, someone like him, I don't think he really wants to waste time.
Yeah, he said December, so...
That would be fine.
Anyone in mind?
You know what they haven't done yet? They've been trying. Third time might be the charm.
It's a bad matchup for him. I know where you're going.
Jim Miller.
It's a bad matchup for him.
For Bobby Green?
For Bobby Green.
Yeah.
He will get omoplated, Kimura'd, something with a shoulder, and it's over for him.
I wonder if they would bother doing that just because
they don't want to blow this hype off.
Obviously, they want to protect Bobby Green.
Exactly,
like you're saying, but
right.
But in addition to what you would say, I think it's probably a little bit that like, well, he just beat the number 10 ranked guy. He'd probably end up with a number in there somewhere. And Jim hasn't fought a guy with a number in a little while. I don't know if that's what they want to do with him. I still think it's a matchup that makes sense to me, but I can see why maybe that's not going to happen.
Makes a lot of sense, but I'd also like to see him fight Dan Hooker. I think that would be a fun matchup.
You know what? That would be a lot of fun. There's a lot of things you could do with Bobby Green, but it just feels like this was a fight that should have happened. And I know there's momentum, and technically Jim would be fighting backwards, but I think it's still an interesting fight, and I think people would like it.
All right. I'm always down for a Jim Miller fight, just as long as it doesn't mess up his schedule for the UFC 300.
Right. Well, I mean, he's probably got to get one more in before that anyway. I think they're tracking 300 to be somewhere around May-ish, if I'm not mistaken.
They're already at 296,
or March, maybe
right?
It is.
The end of the year is 296?
Yeah, it'll be 96. So
probably April or May, you're right.
Yeah, April, May.
Anyway.
Depends what they want. It'll probably be April. Or maybe, shoot. Sometimes they do 2 in March. Maybe it'll be the end of March. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they'll just... It's weird because all the other milestone ones, 100 and 200, they ended up being in July at like the same weekend. And for whatever reason, the calculus got thrown off this time.
It happens. There's a lot of COVID did a lot of damage, I would think, to that schedule. So
yeah, I don't know if it was that, but
we were off for a while.
We were, but
from pay-per-views.
Yeah, but then they got back on track. It wasn't that long. Remember, they had one in March, and then they had one in May, so they really only lost a month.
That's true. I do feel like my credit card got hit with $80 in rapid succession.
Well, it wasn't
a few times.
Yeah,
so
way back, at the beginning of the pandemic, pay-per-views were only a nickel, and now they're $90,000. You got to get a mortgage every time you want to watch, Azrael Adesanya fight against Sean Strickland, which obviously we know what happened there, but no one thought that was going to happen.
I mean, it's only October, but I have not seen the news that the pay-per-views will go up another $5, as what the trend was every single year.
No, but they won't announce that until the end of the year anyway.
Oh, that usually comes out December.
Yeah, it always breaks during that break where we've got
okay.
there's no events going on, and then you'll find out, oh, surprise, January you're gonna be paying $90 billion,
and you're gonna pay it anyway, and you know you're going to.
We're just gonna find the upper limit of where you push back and say no more, and then we'll hold it there.
Yep.
Until eventually you decide you want it, and we'll do that, and then that's kind of. I mean, I sort of get it, but man, it's a way to alienate people.
Oh, for sure. But moving on to Bellator, Usman Nurmagomedov cruised to a 50-45 on all three scorecards against who did he fight?
Brett Primus.
I
actually did not get the chance to watch this yet. I was at a wedding on Saturday, so I watched like a little bit on my phone here and there.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
but I because it was a unanimous one, and the fact that it was kind of a one-sided fight, I didn't have the time or the inclination to pick it up today. But I do want to watch it.
Yeah. While I was watching this alongside watching USC in Arizona in a classic game of college football, so I wasn't really paying attention to score, but you knew Usman was winning easily everywhere it went, on the ground, on the feet. Guy seems like he could be the total package here.
No go-go plata threats from Primus?
I think he threw up rubber guard once, and like Usman was like, no. Posture, bang in the face.
Yeah, see, that's the problem, is he didn't go for the flying go-go plata. That was it was probably there. I didn't watch the fight, but I assumed it was there. There was
one interesting part of the fight. You'll see it. I forget what round it is, but Usman goes for a trip against the fence. He has a clinch and he goes for a trip. Primus grabs the fence to keep it standing. They separate, and Usman lands like a combo, and Jason Herzog stops him, resets the position against the cage of how they were, and then Usman gets a trip takedown like he originally planned on it.
So he stops it with what says will be a foul.
Yeah. Repositions against the cage.
But they continue fighting, and then was this a rapid discussion?
It's kind of right in a row. Like he threw a couple more. He threw like a punch or two.
That doesn't sound like something Jason Herzog would do. But then, I mean that makes sense.
No, he was praised for it. I think he handled it perfect.
Okay, cool.
And it was the exact same sequence. It's like, okay, we were drilling this. You grabbed the fence on the first drill, and then the second one you didn't, and it happened exactly how it was supposed to happen. So good on Jason Herzog there.
Sure.
Assuming Bellator gets to finish this Grand Prix, I think they will.
You hope so.
I hope. Do you think Alexander Shabley or Patricky Pitbull could beat Usman Nurmagomedov in a final?
You know, I actually wouldn't rule out Shabley.
Okay.
I don't know if it's Shabley or Shabley. It's probably Shabley. But
not too shabby Shabley.
Yeah, there you go. I wouldn't rule him out. He's an interesting, I don't know if prospect's the right word, but he's an interesting lightweight.
Okay.
I think he would fit in against some pretty talented dudes too. But I mean, I would have to think this is basically all along has been Nurmagomedov's to lose. And Nurmagomedovs don't really lose.
Yeah, that name tends to win often.
Except for the offshoots. Which one's not related? Is it oh goodness, I can't remember which one.
Umar isn't really. Umar not related?
No, Umar is related.
Umar is related.
Yeah,
there's many of them.
It might be Abu Bakar.
Okay,
I don't think he's related. I think he just happens to also be named Nurmagomedov. But you know what? Who knows? My voice is going. Maybe my brain is too.
Okay.
Yeah. So my voice is coming. That's the crazy thing. As terrible as I sound, and I sound atrocious, right, everybody?
They agree.
This is so much better. This is so much better than it was.
The judging was pretty great. On the whole, UFC Vegas 80, 18 of 19 unanimous rounds for basically a 95% unanimity rating. The only split round was a 9-8 split. So they agreed on the winners on every single fight. And one round was a 9-8 split.
You just don't see that very often. That was impressive.
Junichiro Kamijo is to blame for this. Non-100. Come on, Junie.
Messed up. Take him off the cards. I don't want to see his name again. Take his license.
And then at Bellator 300 over in San Diego, there's a maximum of 30 out of 38. We don't have some post-lim scores. They haven't been posted yet by the PR team at Bellator.
We actually don't have any of the post-lim scores, but we do have, we don't have the score cards, but what we do have is two fights that were unanimous 30-27s with a 30-26 thrown in there. So we just know that there's one round each, but there's a 29-28 unanimous, which in theory they're all agreeing, or in theory, they're all wrong.
It could be 3.
Or not wrong, but out of step.
All 3 contested.
We had one of those recently. That wasn't fun.
And
It's
I
never
thought
fun.
I thought worrying about 2, 3 is a nightmare.
I know.
So 30 out of 38, 78.9% is the max that we have. Once we get
Solid
those
job
scores,
either way.
we'll know for sure.
Yeah.
Good job anyway. Above average regardless.
I'll have to reach out to Alan or Andy Foster in California.
See if we can get those.
I'm sure we can.
Why don't we move on to contested rounds? We have plenty of them.
Nah, I want to talk. Everybody wants to hear me talk.
We'll start with the UFC. There was one contested round was an 8-9 split in round 3 of Joaquin Buckley versus Alex Morono, in which Buckley won 30-27 twice and 30-26. Round 3 was the possible 10-8.
So what's happening there, man?
Why don't we get in there?
Yeah.
I think it's a very good round for Buckley. Morono is still returning fire, but he's getting hit with some big shots from Buckley. At no point did I really think Morono was as hurt as the broadcast was making. I thought he was just more tired than anything. He was shooting desperate takedowns. Seems to be that's where he really wanted to fight. He did get a takedown to side control, did nothing with it. Buckley stood right back up. I think Buckley's landing with some solid damage. He busted up the lip a bit. He doesn't have really a lot of duration during the round. He did eat some shots from Morono. The thing is, he gets a takedown late and on the ground. He doesn't really do much. He doesn't let his hands go to try to pass or land some big shots there. I think it's a very strong 9. There's only one way to score it, and that's for Buckley. So I'm good with an 8. I don't really have any Ds other than damage, and that's the one you need. I just don't have it to the degree where you can get it on your own.
Yeah, even damage. I mean, there's good damage here, right? But like, I guess I would have liked to have seen him be even a little more, just to feel real solid about it. Maybe I'm bloodlusting here, I don't know. But this was definitely an unusual 8-9 split, I thought. I'm a little surprised that we were talking about it.
Okay.
But I mean, like you said, it's a heavy 9. A 10-8.5 or a 10-8 in CSJ like we do. But yeah, I don't think a 9 or I don't think an 8 qualifies here. It's the third round. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it does. We obviously talk about it and we care, but yeah, it didn't affect the result of the fight. So it's really just kind of a degrees thing. I disagree, but it's not offensive. Yeah. It's not offensive.
And if this is the Joaquin Buckley we're going to get at welterweight, we're in for some fun fights where this guy's not going to gas.
Yeah, Morono's no joke. So. Morono really isn't a joke there. He's that's a solid win. I'm curious to see what they do with him next. I think he's still got, he's got to get a couple more before he starts getting the real top guys there. But yeah, it's a good win
for sure. And we're gonna go over one more round from UFC that was unanimous across the board because it wasn't unanimous for Twitter, and they lost their minds on this. We're talking about Vanessa Demopoulos defeating Kanako Murata.
Which is what I predicted would be the one we would talk about on the show anyway.
And we are talking about
Technically, I was wrong, but also right.
I should say, did we mess the judges from the previous fight? Sal D'Amato and
we didn't. We didn't do the breakdown.
Sal D'Amato and Jacob Montalvo had it 10-9 Buckley, as Scott and I did, and Junichiro Kamijo had the 10-8 for Buckley there.
Like I said, take his license. He should never see it. He shouldn't be allowed to watch fights anymore for this. This is a horrible decision. How could he? How could you, Kamijo?
All right, back to the Twitter rage. Vanessa Demopoulos defeats Kanako Murata. Unanimous decision, 29-28, unanimous.
And all rounds unanimous.
All rounds were unanimous. There really was only one way to score each round, and I think the judges got it right. Twitter does not think so because they think top position auto wins.
So what were people saying? Because you got to catch me up. I missed this.
Okay, mostly the gambling community.
Get out of here.
For sure.
They were mad?
They were
mad. Not them.
And I tweeted out, I said, listen, 29-28 either way probably makes sense. And Aaron Bronstetter had it. He had it for Murata, but he said, listen, round 2 is a lot closer than it looks. Everyone else was off the handle.
Okay.
One guy said, how do you've gone so far away from, crediting grappling that someone earns 4 minutes and 11 seconds of control, and they just because the other person outstrikes them by 5 strikes, they get the round. And it's like, no, you're simplifying it way too much.
Sounds like they want robo-umps.
I will take robo-umps behind the plate for strike zone.
Yeah, that's one thing.
But no, robo judges wouldn't be good here. Listen, She spent most of the round on her back for sure, Demopoulos. But in the beginning of the round, she landed some good knees on the feet that led to her getting taken down. She controlled it from the bottom. It's not like she was controlled and trying to get up and couldn't get up. Murata
Guard is a neutral position.
Murata was being held into guard while Demopoulos was trying to find a sub. She couldn't find any real strong attacks, but she was the one keeping it the fight there. She was landing heavy elbows. I don't know what DC was talking about, saying Murata landed some solid strikes in this round. I don't really remember any of those.
No. I'll correct you here. I mean, not correct you, but I'll amend what you're saying. DC fell in love with the Donkey Kong, King Kong double fist
that missed
throws that completely missed.
The four attempts that completely missed.
Loved them. He thought they were fantastic. He's like, do it again, and it wasn't working the first time. It wasn't working the second time. But yes, he saw those as like those were good,
but they didn't land.
They weren't landing.
I mean, the elbows from the bottom. They weren't the strongest elbow we've ever seen, but they were good elbows.
They were fine. I mean, when you look at, if you literally just look at the exchange at the ground, like you could see how they would be, maybe worth it compared to what she was absorbing back. But I don't think they were even that strong to begin with.
There was no steam on anything Murata's throwing.
Yeah,
it's just touching. It's just touching. I think this round is a Demopoulos round and a perfect example of how someone on their back can win a round.
For me, I get frustrated with the idea that they're calling top control. Literally anytime someone is on top of another person, even if you're in their guard, who's in control of that position? If you're in Damian Maia's guard and he's got you, in mission control or something like that, I'm just, hypotheticals here. Hypotheticals here. Who is the one who's got top control? That based on the UFC statistics, which is really what people are starting to care about. They just see the number and they adopt it as a reason that you need to give it to them. But that's not really what it is. And judges don't have those numbers, and that's not the way the criteria works.
Yeah, they even had a little discourse with John Gooden and Paul Felder trying to figure out what name Eddie Bravo's system Demopoulos was using. And he's like, yeah, she's really just controlling controlling the posture. And it's like, okay, so we're going to reward Murata with the control time? Yeah, in the time she's being controlled?
It's ludicrous. It is taught to judges as a neutral position. Full guard is a neutral position. No one's technically in control of that by default.
And I was thinking, because we did our show last week of wording to change the criteria. Mm-hmm. I wish I thought of this. Like maybe we should define how certain positions should be seen in the criteria.
Yeah, there's probably
slight edge here.
There's obviously you'd have to leave some room for leeway because there's so many weird positions that the body can end up in. But yeah, I think by and large it might not be the worst thing to define a couple of them as, generally speaking, we're looking at a position that is this,
Right, because we take the test of all these positions. What's this position? What's that position? What's this submission? What's that? And it's
if there's a correct answer,
so they have to know what it is.
If there's a correct answer, then it probably should just be defined in the book too. And granted, most regular people aren't going to read that, but it still ought to just be in there. Why not? Mm-hmm. If it's being taught, why not put it in?
Exactly. So the three judges who all had it the way we had it for Vanessa Demopoulos.
Yeah, I had it that way too.
Sal D'Amato, Eric Colon, and Chris Lee. Fine score. There's really no reason why people are up in arms about
Take away their licenses. No judges. No more judges.
And so we're going to do one round from the Bellator main card, the opener of Liz Carmouche defending her title against Ilima-Lei Macfarlane.
There were obviously a bunch more rounds from Bellator prelims and apparently postlims too, but we just decided to isolate to the main card.
Yeah, so Carmouche wins round 5 TKO leg kick. Ilima-Lei was finished.
That was quite a kick too.
She really couldn't walk. She came in with a knee injury, I believe. And Liz, even though they're friends, eventually she's I got to kick this and win this.
Yeah, I mean I don't think it's bad sportsmanship. It's just trying to win a fight.
Round 1 is the round in question. I hate that we're talking about this round because this round they came out like there was two friends fighting. No one really had any sense of urgency or desire to hurt the other person.
Sounds like they should both be removed from the title picture and suspended, and someone else just gets their spot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what another promotion might do.
I mean, this is the one exception where friends probably should fight each other.
Yeah.
In for a title.
No, it's different. So, it is different.
Round 1, it's just so that they don't really do much to either person. It's like some leg kicks, some jabs, some punches. No one's trying to put a stamp on
There's
anything.
not a lot of scorable offense here. It's just not.
I think Carmouche edges it. I think if you scored it for McFarlane, it's fine. I just have an issue with this where it's such a tough round to score. You have to actually these three judges had to write a name down for a round like this, where no one really tried to give them anything to score.
Sure.
How'd you have it?
I mean, I had the same way as you for Carmouche, but I think one of the things that when we're talking about low output rounds like this, it often comes down to saying that, they need more to score. They need to put more out there to score, right? Sometimes you would say, oh, that falls upon the referee to make sure that they understand that they need to do that. Well, the referee in question here was Blake Grice, who was our instructor for the refereeing course in particular. And at one point, with about 1 minute to go, he does tell him, like, get to work. I don't remember the quote he said exactly, but yes, he was informing them, like, you got to get something done. Nothing's happening as a result of it. At what point is a referee supposed to interject themselves in the first round of a fight? It's kind of a tough thing because they are still feeling it out. Yeah. That's why I still don't necessarily love the idea of, well, we only push it upon the referee to say, make sure there's some action to be in there. I think there are rounds where we watch them and no one really won it. You know what I mean? And I'm not arguing that we need to do like 10-10s, I guess. I don't know. You're not saying there should be a... I'm not going so far as the 10-10, but it feels so weird to make a round like this just as important as another round where they're actually doing stuff. And it just doesn't feel right to me.
So a judge shouldn't have a button that turns on an orange light that says, I need to see something. There's not much here to score.
I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. But there... That's why, the 5-point system that I'd mentioned is kind of like that, crazy idea that's never going to happen. But, I understand that there are people who are fans of it. It was an old kickboxing thing, right? I think if you had that system, you would just give them both zeros and you say, well, they didn't do anything, so they don't get anything. Yeah, then in a later round, maybe you give Liz Carmouche some more points and she can really start distancing herself. That's why I kind of like the idea of it. But it's not, it's pipe dream. I understand that.
And to go back to what you said, Blake Grice at the start of round 2 calls them both to the center. He says, hey, we're in a fight. You have to fight and give these judges something to score. Mm-hmm. So he's letting them know you need to do something so the judges can properly assess this fight.
It's a good thing we had him on this fight because he obviously understands, as someone who instructs and teaches, he understands all these perspectives on it. So, great job by Blake Grice, who's a referee that, honestly, if you don't watch Bellator, you almost never see him. He doesn't work a whole lot of UFC events. Just for whatever reason, they don't go to the commissions where he tends to work as often. But terrific official. And I think it was really great that he was on this title fight and be able to show that, hey, this is what a good official is supposed to do.
Yeah, I've seen him on Contender Series.
Obviously, we're a little biased here, right? You were in the course. Obviously. I understand that. But, again, good job by Blake.
Yeah, for sure. The breakdown for the judging in this round, Brian Miner and Felicia O were in the majority with me and Scott for 10-9 Carmouche, while Ron McCarthy scored at 10-9 McFarlane. Like we said, there's really no issue.
Take his license.
Either way there. Everyone's unlicensed after this one.
That's right. Like I said, no more judges.
That does it for the contested rounds. Like we said, there was more rounds from Bellator
and
that
the
we just didn't get to.
rounds too. We're done with those.
Yeah, uncontested rounds. Yeah. The outrage. We're on to the finishes. At UFC, we had 4 finishes, 3 TKO or KO. I see you changed it.
I always
upsets me. 1 sub and 3 happened in the first round. The sub was the only one that made it to the second round. Bellator had 7 finishes, 4 TKOs, 3 subs, 4 in the first round.
By the way, all those were in fact actual TKOs. There was no KO.
I was actually figuring that because there's no parentheses here.
Or slash.
Yeah, there should be a slash.
This is a very in joke that no one should care about.
What was your favorite of the across it all?
I didn't get to watch every single thing like I would have liked to, but I watched as many of the big ones as I could, and I really liked Drew Dober's finish of Rick Glenn, where he's just destroying him with left hand. It's just left and left and left when they're standing, and then left and left and left when on the ground. It's man, I can't believe Rick Glenn took as many of those as he did, because Drew Dober, as we know, hits real hard.
It was just like 2 minutes of I hope I survive.
Yeah, it was just over a half round. Yeah. That was an impressive performance and a good bounce back for Dober after losing to Matt Frivola. We were there for that one, right? Or were you in Newark for that fight? I can't remember.
Newark?
Did you go to
Yeah,
Newark?
yeah, I made it to Newark.
Yeah. We were both there then.
Yep.
I still picture where I was exactly at that point, yeah.
I was in my seat.
Yeah, so was I. What was your favorite?
Joe Pyfer putting Abdul Razak Al-Hassan to sleep. A super, super tight arm triangle. He almost got it in the first round standing. Made a mistake. Yeah, Al-Hassan was able to get out. But in the second round, on the ground, he locked this in. It's probably one of the tightest arm triangles I think I can remember. And Al-Hassan,
he's not even able to get his body super low because the cage was impacting
yeah,
him.
It was a squeeze.
Oh, it looked like a great squeeze. I mean, you kind of knew he had it even without it, but you're like, man, if he could only have gotten it lower, might have been a little quicker.
And then Al-Hassan starts punching the shoulder. We all know it's a tap. He's tapping, but he's tapping with a fist.
Yeah, it was a little strange.
Like Mark Smith's like, "Are you tapping?" And then he's like, "So okay, yeah, it's over." I
actually watched that one on my phone with my brother-in-law at the wedding, and I'm watching it and I'm like, it looks like he means to tap, but that's not like what you would think of as a tap. So I don't know.
Yeah,
and obviously I'm watching it at a wedding, so it's and on my phone. So how great is my view on this, but. Yeah, did it look like a tap to you, like as it was live?
It felt like, okay, I know he's tapping.
Yeah.
But he also has a fist. So I don't know if these are just final attempts and he's just willing to go to sleep and he's just going out fighting.
I feel like there's so much gray area lately with the way people have tapped or not tapped or been limp or not limp and that kind of thing. I feel like Mark Smith was probably just trying to make sure everything was crystal clear when he did it.
Yeah.
And I think it was probably smart too.
Especially in a choke. Because if it was in a joint lock, and you're doing that, you know, it could end where you're out for the next 6 months with an injury.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you don't want him to be out for too long. Obviously, there are dangers there, but I think Mark Smith handled it perfectly fine.
Yeah, I got no issues.
Yeah, but yeah, super good win for Joe Pyfer. You got to start seeing where he goes against some other competition. He's probably due for an upgrade.
Well, I think for sure.
Yeah.
So that does it for UFC 80 or Vegas 80 and Bellator 300. Looking ahead to next week, we got UFC Vegas 81.
81.
Headlined by Sodiq Yusuff taking on Edson Barboza at 145. What do you think of this fight?
I like it. I had different ideas for what they could do with Barboza, but I was probably pushing him a little higher than the UFC wanted. But this has fireworks written on it. Mm-hmm. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think the winner of it can really go on to some interesting fights too.
Yeah, for sure. You don't make picks, right?
No, I don't like to make
no
picks.
pick making.
I don't like to make picks.
He is just...
I don't want to upset anybody. There's no point. No one cares what I think anyway.
That's true.
There's like a few, like sometimes my brother-in-law or someone else I know will be like, hey, you got in this fight. And I'll tell them, but because I have ideas. Yeah. I don't sit here not thinking about it. But
Far from the days of a little gym next to a pancake shop when I'd ask you, who do you like in this? And you're like, this guy. I'm like, I like this guy. And you're like, you want to give me $20 when you're wrong? Yeah. And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to do that.
I got a lot of $20 bills from you. It was pretty good. I think you beat me one time, and then we probably just stopped after that.
I 100% should have won that Condit Diaz, but
I'll stop.
Whatever.
Stop.
It's a long time ago. I'll let it go one day.
No, you won't. This is, of course, in Nevada.
Yeah, we're in Nevada, so we'll
and they're not split. We don't have some in California and some in Nevada. We got the whole crew is there, so everyone who's available and wants to take it is pretty much there.
Probably gonna be there.
Yeah.
Any other fights you're looking forward to?
I like Chris Gutierrez and Alateng Haile. I think Alateng Haile is a little bit. I think he was he's a replacement, if I'm not mistaken, to come in because it's a little bit of a weird booking against Gutierrez, who's built some real momentum. But I think it's gonna be a good fight.
Okay.
I'm always interested to see what Gutierrez does because he's got a style that really you just don't see a whole lot of it anyway. With focus on the leg kicks and that kind of thing. Very very hard leg kicks, are the whole base of his attack almost.
Looks like Yaya was supposed to fight Alateng Haile. It looks like Gutierrez is stepping in on short notice.
Oh, okay, all right.
Looks like,
probably just wanted to fight.
Typology.
All right,
so
sure.
Other fights that stood out to me were Jonathan Martinez and Adrian Yanez at 135.
That's a good one. Let's see how Yanez bounces back because that was a tough loss. He built so much momentum and losing to Rob Font's no joke, but it was a big loss.
Yeah, for sure.
And Martinez has a lot of momentum
hope
too.
Hope they still send him Dr. Pepper.
I'm sure he found a way to get some Dr. Pepper.
Good.
It's not that expensive.
Anytime Darren Elkins is on the card, we want to see it because
the damage.
It's going to be some some damage, some blood.
Mm-hmm.
And
we're really just rooting for him to have a poor quality of life later on.
And
not
also,
true, but unfortunately we worry.
And you added this one also.
I did.
Terrence McKinney versus Brandon Marat.
I don't know.
At
He's a late
155.
replacement.
He is, as of this week, he's stepping in. They didn't have a fighter for him as of Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, this was just or not announced, but I guess he kind of announced it. T-Mac or T-Rex.
He's been fighting
T-Mac.
a lot recently. So he's trying to be one of my guys.
He is trying to be one of your guys. And pretty much any time he fights, someone's gonna have a spectacular finish in the first round. There's gonna be a wild first round, so he's appointment viewing.
Of course.
You know what I didn't do is I didn't consider before we got on the recording here who we would be talking about for a contested round, and that's kind of what I'm debating here. Do you have any kind of inclinations? You thought?
Yeah, I'm thinking we're gonna see something in Jennifer Maia and Viviane Araújo. We'll see. Oh, Scott, there's a fight on here that I think may have just been made as well.
Michelle Pereira and Andre Petrosky.
Yeah, I like that fight.
That is a good one at middleweight too, which is where Pereira probably belongs.
All right,
so
yeah,
that's fine. Yeah, I like that fight too. I the only reason I said that is because timing wise, I pulled up the card and I saw it.
Yeah, I just pulled up the card as well.
Honestly, it's a decent card. Like, you know, for what these are, it's a decent card. For what it's worth, I would say the fight we're going to be talking about, just to be a little different, I'm going to say Ashley Yoder and Emily Goudcotti.
Okay.
That's a solid bet. Straw weights.
It's a solid bet.
You're probably right, though, too.
All right, that does it for this episode. We'll be back again to break down all the rounds from UFC Vegas 81.
Maybe I'll even have a voice by then. We'll see.
I think Scott will have a voice by then. I hope he did.
Don't jinx it.
Thanks for listening.
Take care, everyone.